Hey, do I have control of the screen now?
You should go ahead and do your share screen down at the bottom, and you can share your screen. All right. Well, as everybody is logging in, I want to go ahead and welcome you all to our webinar Wednesday. We are so excited to have Carol Smith back with us again today. She is a wealth of information, and she's so generous to do these webinars for us. Before we get started, I do want to go over a couple of housekeeping items while you guys are logging in. We will take questions throughout the program, but we'll answer them at the end. So down at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A speech bubble. If you click on that, you can go ahead and ask your question, and I will ask them live to Carol at the end, and then she'll go ahead and answer them. And then if you have questions directed directly to me if you have issues with trying to hear, or you can't see, or you have something that you need something taken care of immediately, you can reach me directly on the chat function. That's a single speech bubble down at the bottom of the screen. Also, Carol has been generous enough to give a workbook to everybody. I did publish it in the chat, and the one thing I'm not sure of is if you guys can see it, so I am going to post it one more time. Feel free to download the workbook and follow along as she does her presentation. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Carol Smith.
Thank you very much. I am ready to go here, and we've got quite a bit of information to follow, so we're going to jump right into this. I want to begin with talking about the benefits of having some good reporting mechanisms in your company, particularly with a focus on warranty. These are like holding a mirror up to all of your earlier behaviors and decisions and so on, and as you do that, you can find places where you can improve. We'll begin with saying that one of the benefits of doing good reports is you want to take good care of your customers so that you get referrals from them and continue to grow and increase your business. Ken Merchant, who is an instructor out in California at the University of Southern California, did a project with his graduate level statistics class. And what they did was study customer satisfaction in home building over 200 different locations. And when they concluded, what they had learned from this study was that an 8% increase in customer satisfaction not only raises your income, but it reflects a decrease in your warranty costs, because to satisfy your customers, you have to build a high-quality home and deliver it complete and clean. The end result was an increase in profitability between 13 and 28%. I don't know about you, but I'd be happy to have a 13% increase in my income. We also found that the best place in terms of your level of buyer satisfaction is about 96%. To go to 97, 98, or 99%, you're going to spend so much money you will not make it back in referrals. That little 3 or 4% of the last bit of customers are so difficult to please, you will spend money on replacing carpet and replacing the roof and replacing the cabinets, and you don't get enough referrals back to justify that kind of an investment. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about this. Builders who have a good reputation can charge more for their homes. They don't have to worry so much about advertising costs. And in addition to that, the feedback that you get from the reporting mechanisms that create all of this improvement help you not only build a better home, but reduce what you pay for services and processes, because you don't have to replace so many things. Scheduling can perhaps be tightened up to save you money on that aspect of your business. And good reports also help you understand whether you have enough people and the right people and where they need to be located and so on. Speaking of staff, if you have a good reputation, you're going to be able to attract the best professional talent in your region. Good, talented professionals want to work for a company they can be proud to name. Reporting can also help you to identify training needs in your personnel. And this could be strategic training where you want them to understand your philosophy of customer service a little more accurately. Or it could be practical training with hands-on practice, doing customer meetings or whatever projects they're involved in their particular job. Get better terms with trade contractors. Here again, good companies want to work with companies they know they can trust. The job site will be prepared, it'll be safe, the materials that they need will be on hand, and their questions are answered promptly. You're going to get better terms with trades if you have that kind of a reputation. Be able to make fewer concessions as you're selling your homes. You don't have to give away appliances and garage door openers to sell a house. And sometimes when you need to convince others that a change is necessary, good, solid data can be your best friend. Yelling does not work well, nor are its effects lasting. And finally, on a personal level, it just feels good to go to work each day and know that you're doing a good job. So those are some of the benefits of having reporting mechanisms at play in your company. Now let's look at the core metrics, 4 types of reports that I think are essential for every builder to be producing on a regular basis. Oftentimes when I ask a company, how much warranty work do you have going on? They'll tell me they have 21 lists or they have 21 letters. That really doesn't tell me what I need to know. I need way more detail than that. I want to sort these letters and lists out to what kinds of items are coming across your desk. There's an ancient Sanskrit saying that says, before you can judge a thing, you must know the standard. And this is what we're looking for in our data from our reports. If you haven't come across this book yet, I highly encourage you to get a copy and read it. The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Chris McChesney and a couple of other writers. They talk about lead and lag measures. Lead measures in our business include things like setting customer expectations accurately, reviewing information several times with your home buyers so they know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. If you don't set your customer expectations precisely, you're dealing with a situation where you're in a dark room, wearing a blindfold, trying to hit a moving target, and that's not a good place to be. The 4 disciplines include focusing on wildly important goals, such as the only meaningful measure of satisfaction is repurchase loyalty. Dave Illingworth, who was with Lexus, made that statement, and I think it's pretty accurate. When I ask builders what your rate of referral sales is, oftentimes they start quoting their survey data back. They say, well, we had 89% satisfaction on our homeowner orientation, our selection process got 91, and our salesperson got 94. I want to know how many homes you sold, not how you were rated on your surveys. Many times builders can't answer this question. I find that really confusing. It's an important number. We need to know what it is, and we need to nurse it so that it becomes larger. Act on lead measures. Those are the measurements of things you do up front that are going to ensure you sell more homes. Keep a compelling scoreboard. That's the reporting mechanism we're going to be looking at here. They're scoreboards on your various activities. Create a cadence of accountability. People who work in professional positions for a home builder need to hold themselves accountable, and if they fail to achieve their goal, they need to sit down and figure out why and change their behavior. So the 4 core metrics that we're going to be talking about are listed in Figure 1, and they include the number, the nature, completion, and the cost of your warranty work. We'll begin with the number. We have 71 work orders out, and those 71 work orders cover 111 items. Okay, that's good, but I want more information. Okay, 16 of those items are drywall. Not hard to imagine. There's almost always drywall work at the end of the year. 12 of them are floor covering, 10 are paint, and so on and so forth. Let's look at the floor covering problems. We have 4 that are related to hardwood, 2 for vinyl, and so on and so forth. Now we're getting somewhere. We can really see what's going on out there. Completion helps us understand what the customer is experiencing in terms of his work being responded to by our in-house trades or our in-house technicians or our trade contractors. We want to keep a close watch on this. I'll show you how important this is. Alliance surveys out in California, and they've been around probably longer than I have in this business, tell us that the 4 things that are important when we do a warranty repair begin with the quality of the work. We don't do Band-Aids. We do legitimate, top-notch repairs. The second consideration is cleaning up after the repair. In most cases today, your homeowners are very busy people. In many families, both adults are working. They don't have time to clean up after our work. Third trade is to complete the repair in one visit, if at all possible. Make sure the trade shows up with the right amount of the correct material, and they're going to stay there long enough to complete the work they have assigned. Finally, the repair is completed within the promised time frame. Let's talk about promise time frame for a moment. Customer follow-up, which is a phone survey company based in Pennsylvania, tells us that 53% of homeowners who don't recommend their builder won't recommend the builder because of slow resolution of warranty issues. Another survey company, Woodland O'Brien and Scott, recently bought out by Constellation, by the way, they tell us that 36% is the drop in warranty referrals when the work isn't completed within the promised time frame. This is a serious issue for us. We really need to watch it closely. Another study by Woodland O'Brien and Scott showed 51% possible referrals if response time is slow versus 99% possible referrals if the response time is quick. An enormous influence on your future business. Let's break it down into practical terms. Let's imagine Builder A tells his homeowner, your warranty work is going to get done in 5 days, and then it gets done in 8. The homeowner perceives the work was 3 days late. On the other side of town, Builder B tells his homeowners 10 days. He's using the same trades. The work takes 8 days. That homeowner thinks his work got done 2 days early. It's a subtle distinction, but it makes a big difference what expectation you set. You need to know what your response time is going to be and set an expectation with the customer that's just a tiny bit longer so they perceive that you were pretty fast this month. This brings us to the important topic of your follow-up hierarchy. What order should you use when you follow up on your warranty work? I think it's obvious that we're going to talk about emergencies. No heat, no electricity first. And there are urgencies that aren't quite as important as an emergency, but they're still pretty critical, such as I have no hot water. That's an emergency in my house. My front door won't lock. My garage door is cattywampus, and I can't get my car in or out of the garage. Those are pretty urgent factors, and we want to respond to them immediately. Routine items we want to check on at least once a week. Outstanding work orders first, the ones we know aren't done. And then we want to talk to the customer about work orders that, according to the trade, have been completed, but we don't have a homeowner's signature. Perhaps they weren't home. Maybe it was an outside item. They didn't need to be there when the trade did the work. We can call and ask, do you have any feedback for us on the repair process? You don't want to call and say, hey, got your work order back. The trade claims that it's done, but we don't trust him, so I'm checking with you. Don't want to make that kind of an impression. We just want feedback on the repair process. If the work isn't done or it wasn't done well, I guarantee the homeowner will tell you. Next, you're going to check on at least some of the signed work orders. An interesting anecdote from California. Builder out there insisted that the trade contractors get the homeowner's signature on work orders or they weren't allowed to turn them back in. Well, of course, homeowner isn't always available, or sometimes they refuse to sign the work order because they're waiting for the builder to add another tree to their backyard, and the plumber doesn't know a thing about that, but he can't get his work order signed. After a while, those trades figured out they could forge the customer's signature, and then they figured out they could forge the customer's signature without ever going to the house and doing a repair. The builder ended up with about 130 work orders that were signed, wink, wink, by the homeowner that really weren't done. It was a mess to straighten that out. So we want to make sure our practices in this regard are reasonable and we get accurate information. In the handout material that's available to you, there's a figure that helps you to analyze what I call secondary attention, the kinds of things that cause you to have to go back and rework something on a work order that didn't go through the system as expected the first time. This happens from time to time, perhaps because we had the wrong information about the paint color or the grout color or the amount of tile needed or whatever the detail was that we didn't get right. Sometimes the secondary attention is required because of the trade or the supplier. It could be the homeowners on vacation, or it could be outside factors such as the weather is bad and so we can't do the work. Homeowner puts a work order on hold saying we're having a baby or we have company or we're going out of town for 2 weeks or whatever. Mark your calendar on the day they are supposed to get back and contact them and ask them if it's okay to reactivate that work order. They will be very impressed with that effort, and once you get in the habit of doing this, it's relatively easy to put those notes on your calendar. If the problem is your trades, we can work with them. We'll see an entry for the trade contractor agreement a little bit later on that gives you some powerful tools to help them understand the importance of warranty work. Of course, when the trades do warranty work, most of the time they're not making any money, so they're not terribly enthused about it. But if they understand the broader perspective, that taking good care of homeowners generates more business for you and therefore more business for them, they might become a little more cooperative. I know we're struggling right now with both a labor shortage and a supply chain issue. It's important that we point this out to our customers and let them know that we are very aware of these things. These are our challenges to deal with. And at the same time, we recognize we can't completely protect our homeowners from the effects of these. Your access policy may have an influence on your response time. If you don't take keys, that's going to slow you down. If you do take keys, you have the risk of things going awry when the homeowner's not there to see the work being done. If you accept keys, I recommend that you have one of your people present the entire time any trade contractor is working inside that house. Seasonal work is a problem for some of us, depending on your geographical area. It's difficult to do exterior paint touch-up or a siding repair when it's 4 degrees outside and there are 3 feet of snow on the ground. Weather-related leaks are another challenge. We fix them, we think they're fixed, we hold our breath and cross our fingers, but sometimes Mother Nature has a sense of humor and finds a new way to get water into that home, or we fixed something that really wasn't letting the water in the first place. One case in a warranty matter that I dealt with years ago up in Denver, I chased a leak across the house 7 different places before we finally fixed the right thing. Natural disasters are technically and legally not the builder's responsibility to fix in terms of the damage it might cause to a home. Tornado comes through town and rips out a backyard fence or takes off part of the roof. It's not your problem. It's the homeowner's insurance problem. In some cases, we have a hard time convincing the homeowner of that fact. And so you end up going out and doing an inspection just to make sure that you didn't have an obligation and to help the homeowner understand this needs to be reported to his insurance company. Fourth report is the cost. Most of the time I find that warranty people do not make decisions based on what something's going to cost, but rather on the standard we promise the customer and what's appropriate and right for us to do. This means they need access to the scopes of work. Many times when I went to our purchasing department and asked for a copy of a scope of work for a trade, I got a little bit of pushback. What do you need that for? Well, I'm actually stealing it and giving it to our competitor down the street. What do you mean, what do I need it for? I need to see what the trade is supposed to be doing. He's trying to charge me for something I think should have been part of his scope of work. Make sure warranty at least knows where to go to get those so they can look things up. We approve invoices. It's important to make sure that we have accurate information on the invoice. Now, sometimes this can be quite an adventure. The invoices that come across a warranty desk can be complicated, and they can sometimes be approved in a little bit of a hurry. I saw one on a warranty manager's desk in Atlanta that had been approved. It was in the stack to go to accounting and be paid. I picked it up and read the detail, and it turned out the trade contractor had a technician work in one of their houses 28 hours on the same date. I asked how they did that. I have a class I do on time management, and I was interested to know how you do 28 hours worth of work on one day. Well, it turned out there should have been a decimal point in that. It was going to be 2.8 hours, not 28, which made a substantial difference in the amount of the invoice. So we need to remember to check the arithmetic as well as all the other details. As I mentioned, usually the warranty office is not the major cause of warranty costs. That all happens up front, and warranty simply reacts to the items that come across the desk at the end of the process. Warranty inherits the customer's expectations. They inherit the quality management, the trade contractors and the materials that we chose to use in building our homes, the scheduling that we put in place, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they inherit issues caused by the building department changing their codes. And so we have an interesting scenario here of people responding to things done not necessarily with their complete approval or contribution. Another aspect of controlling costs is to do a monthly review of your expenses. As we look at this kind of thing, we want to make sure that we have an adequate warranty staff that knows how and when to say no to the customer. As I mentioned, they have access to scopes of work, and when practical and appropriate, we should exercise our right to back charge a trade for a failure that caused us to do a repair later on maybe cost several $100s. Good idea to share these reports with your trades. Now, I would caution you about one aspect of this practice. If you're sharing reports that show you have a couple of trades that are very slow in responding to your work orders, something needs to happen to change that. If your other trades see that these trades continue to work for you without improving, they're going to start to slough off and think, well, ABC company doesn't respond to them quickly. Why should I worry about it? And that can be a very dangerous precedent to put in place. We don't want to send that kind of a message out to our trades. Your repair data is a mirror held up to everything you did earlier, starting with your designs and specifications, all the way through your buyer expectations, which we'll be talking about at the end of this program. Right now, we're going to look at over a dozen supplemental reports. These cover many different aspects of your work. Now, you don't have to do these all the time. You can do them once in a while. You could do them quarterly. You could do them semi-annually. If you find one that's really helpful, you might want to do it persistently. But these are good ways to check in. Just do a temperature check and see what's going on. You learn a few things. You might make some changes, and then you move on. Come back to some of them later. I would suggest that rather than trying to do all of these, you pick one or two that you think will particularly help your company. We'll talk about what each of these involves. We did the phone report 3 weeks, and we learned some important things. Then we stopped doing the phone report. Come to that, I'll tell you what we learned and what changes we made as a result. Obviously, it's important for us to check on homeowner satisfaction. That's one of our key elements. It helps us to sell more homes. The first thing we want to listen to carefully is reports from the front line. Comments our people make, questions the homeowners are asking them, remarks they make to people casually out in the field. Now, this isn't scientific. It's not something you can put on a chart necessarily, but it might be a heads up to a developing problem. And we want to pay attention to that and start looking into it more closely right away. That's what I paid you for. If you build a good quality home, you're probably not going to get extra points from your homeowner. The fact of the matter is they think they picked you because they liked your quality, they found it appealing, and they expected you to deliver it. So they're not going to jump up and down and clap their hands because you did what you promised you were going to do. However, in thinking about customer satisfaction, there are two requirements for us to get a referral. Intellectual opinion is one of them. Now, that's the customer's opinion of the quality, the design, the products you used in the home, and that type of thing. The emotional opinion is the customer's viewpoint with regard to how you treated him, and did you take good care of him? Did you pay attention? Did you communicate? Did you give them updates? The emotional opinion is the stronger of the two, so we really want to make sure we get that side of our relationship with the customer healthy. Walker Research did a study of this topic years ago, and what they found was way back in 2014, the customer's attitude about personalized attention and the emotional side of a transaction was only 4% of his opinion of a company. As we progress through the years, it has grown substantially, and at the end of 2020, that number had reached over 80%. So we see from this study how important it is to pay attention to your customers on an individual basis. Here's a tiny example from Houston, Texas. A builder down there sold a home to a recently widowed lady, and she was very nervous, and every time she came to a meeting at her home builder's office, she brought her dog with her. The dog stayed in her handbag, was very well behaved. Everybody in the company got to know the dog. At her orientation, the superintendent showed up with a new dog tag for the dog, with the new address and her new phone number on it. She burst into tears. The community is still talking about this gift 2 years later, and the dog tag cost the company $6. That's the kind of thing we want to be watching for to have a personalized relationship with our customers. Transaction surveys, another good technique. If you're like me, you get tired of people sending you surveys. You get them now a lot online through emails. And sometimes I fill them out, but not very often because they're usually too long and they take too long and the company doesn't probably read it anyway. So what we want to do instead is have something quick The customer can fill out in 60 or 90 seconds and send it back to you. And you want to send it out right after you've done a repair appointment so that the customer can tell you right away if he's upset about something or maybe compliment you if something went well. Of course, we'd share that compliment with the trade or the technician who did the work in this house. It gives you an immediate response. Because it's quick and easy, more customers are likely to fill it out. Management interviews are another fabulous technique. This is where a manager comes back to the warranty office, pulls a file at random out of the filing cabinet, contacts the homeowner and says, "I'd like to come out and talk with you about what it was like to do business with my company." These interviews usually take from 30 to 60 minutes, depending on the issues, and they're good exercise for a couple of reasons. First of all, the homeowner is impressed to have someone from management come out and talk to them. Second of all, the managers learn that, gee, today's consumers are pretty tough to satisfy, and that helps support the front line. Periodic surveys are pretty popular in today's world, and these come to us from a number of different companies. These can give you sort of a long-term view in great detail. Here again, we want to make sure we pay attention to this. We find the items that are not going well, zero in on them, and figure out how to improve them. Another report you might want to consider, at least once in a while, is measuring your warranty exposure. What is warranty exposure? This is how many months of warranty obligation you have through all of your communities and all of your different product lines. Once you calculate this the first time, it becomes a lot easier later to update it. But the idea of this is to give you an idea of how much scope of warranty work is out there that you're going to have to pay attention to. This can help you figure out how many staff members you need in warranty and where they should be located. So the baseline begins with the number of homes you've closed in the year times the number of recommended lists. Most builders recommend two, something shortly after move-in and something at year-end. I'd add 15% for emergencies, for picky personalities and so forth, and then multiply that times the typical number of items per list, divide the total by 12, and that would be the monthly number of items you'd expect in warranty. So this is your warranty baseline. Let's imagine we do 117 homes. We suggest 2 visits, so that's 234 lists. We're going to add our 15%. And we're going to multiply that by, let's just say, 6 items per list on average, for a total of 134 a month or 31 a week. However, instead of those numbers, what we're really seeing is 202 a month, which is 51% over the expected number. And clearly something's wrong here. We want to dig in and find out what. It could be that your estimate of 6 items per list is a little too low. Or it could be your quality control is slipping, or your delivery needs to be polished up. I'm going to look for an explanation from whatever direction. Did you have a sudden increase in sales? That's certainly going to increase warranty items, and we may need to increase our warranty staffing to keep up with it. Did you put a defective item in multiple homes? I lived through one of those experiences. We'll talk about that shortly. It wasn't fun at all. Have some people on vacation, and so you're behind because your personnel aren't available? Or do you have a trade contractor who's new to the job and he's still figuring things out? Or again, has there been a natural disaster and your homeowners expect your help, at least your guidance, with fixing things? Sometimes we face seasonal items. Certainly in Colorado, that's a factor. It does increase warranty work, and spring rains are another aspect of seasons. Possibly you're in what I call a service hole. Now, a service hole comes with symptoms. People are angry, they're yelling and screaming, they're submitting long lists, you're delivering homes incomplete, the Better Business Bureau is on your case, you've got customers making signs and putting them in their front yard, and so on and so forth. Those are all indications you may have a service hole, in which case you are going to have to organize a separate team to deal with the backlog. You're not going to get it fixed with the same system that got you into this mess in the first place. We can also measure the phone calls. As I said before, when we did that, we found some really interesting things out. No surprise, we got more phone calls on Monday than any other day of the week. Well, we looked at that and said, gee, why are we scheduling ourselves to be out in the field doing inspections? We ought to stay in the office on Mondays and answer the calls directly and not have to call people back and play phone tag. We also realized, because we'd never noticed this before, that Friday afternoon was pretty quiet. As a result of that, we changed our regular warranty staff meeting from Wednesday morning to Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And I told everybody, arrive on time for the meeting, be prepared to go through the agenda. When the meeting is over, you can all go home for the weekend. I had no trouble getting people to show up on time for that meeting. It worked really well. But I never would have thought of it if I hadn't done the analysis of what days most of the phone calls come in. You can do the same thing with inspections for pretty much the same reasons. Doing inspections that are increasing in number and getting to a surprising level could be an indication you have a developing quality issue out there. You want to pay some attention to that. Structure, and what we're talking about here is, do you have a 30-day, do you have a year-end, how are you structuring the frequency and timing of your contact with homeowners makes a difference in all of this. I'm a big fan of proactive warranty contact. And by proactive, what I mean is you offer to set the first warranty appointment with the customer before they go to closing. This is very impressive even to the customers who are unable to set an appointment that far in advance. I also like to give the customer some flexibility and choice. Typically, we set these appointments between 30 and 60 days, but we're flexible. What amount of time would you like? The customer may say 47 and a half days, or he might say 72. What difference does it make to me? As long as I'm keeping him happy, if he has an emergency, of course, he's going to call, and we're going to respond right away. Recently, I've noticed a lot of our survey companies are talking builders into doing 3 surveys, one at closing or shortly thereafter, one mid-year, and one at year-end. Now, the reason they want to do 3 surveys is they charge more for 3 surveys than they do for 2. But builders, in response to 3 surveys, now want to do a 3rd warranty visit. Now, that means you have to increase your staffing levels in order to keep up with it. This doesn't make any sense because it's going to ultimately increase the price of your home. And I'll bet if you asked your customers if they want to pay $1,200 more for their house so they can have a 5-month visit, they'd look at you and say, no, just let me report items if something serious comes up. I think the just right amount is to schedule a primary visit shortly after move-in, and again, give the customer some flexibility on the timing. An anniversary visit, and that can be just an email or a postcard reminding them that that's available if they'd like to set the appointment, or you could be more aggressive and insist on it. And then in between those 2 standardized visits, if a customer reports an item, your attitude is, would you like us to come out and inspect it now, or do you want us to add it to your year-end list? And let them make the choice. Brings us to the topic of interim warranty requests, and your handout material in Figure 12 has a policy about this. Now, a small number of your homeowners are going to submit list after list after list. The items will overlap. They'll repeat themselves in slightly different words, so you don't know if it's the same thing or something slightly different, and it can really spin you in circles. More than once, I've gone out to a house, sat down at the kitchen table with a homeowner, and explained to them why we like to have our items consolidated at the beginning and end of the year, because it's more efficient and faster to serve all homeowners if we do it that way. Certainly in an emergency, call us right away. Administrative response issues can be a factor. If our administrative folks are overburdened and can't keep up with getting work orders out the door, responding to phone calls and emails and such, we're going to run into some issues. There's some thoughts about that in Figure 13 where we set targets for how quickly we're going to respond, how fast we'll get work orders out the door, and then we can track our performance and see how well we're doing in that regard. An effective work order is critically important for getting work done successfully. We've got to have the right information. If you put the homeowner's email address and cell phone number on a work order, that should tell your trades and your in-house service technicians that it's okay for them to use that information to contact the homeowner. It would only be there if the homeowner had given us permission to share his work number for these purposes. Whether your work orders are in hard copy or computerized, we want to make sure they give an accurate description of the repair that's needed. So when the trade or technician get there, they have the materials, they've allowed enough time on their calendar, and everything can be completed in one visit. Sometimes work orders take a little more time to get out the door because we need to do some research. Now, this can delay getting the work completed. If I have to go to the basement storage room and look up the carpet color in somebody's house, that's probably going to take me longer than a work order I can just sit down and type out right now. If a decision is pending, I'm waiting for approval from management, or perhaps I'm waiting for payment authorization and the issue of a purchase order in order to get something fixed, that can slow things down as well. If we're aware of this, we can make sure our other departments are cooperating with warranty because they understand the importance of us getting this work completed quickly in order to satisfy our homeowner and sell more homes. Figure 15, you're going to see some warranty repair protocols. I want to comment on a couple of them. Number 7 says, upon arrival, park a clean vehicle in the street in front of the home. Why would that be important? One of my best warranty technicians, a man named Gordon, who in his early 60s looked like Santa Claus, had a big white beard, just as friendly and outgoing as he could be, and he really understood so much about construction. He was a jovial person, and the homeowners just loved him. He did a repair at the end of a cul-de-sac one afternoon, got done early, had another work order for a house 3 doors down. So he walked down the street to the house, knocked on the door. There was nobody home. The work order was about an exterior item on the back of the house. So Gordon walked to the back of the home with his tools, sat down on the ground, dangled his legs in a window well, and was repairing a piece of siding on the back of the house. Meanwhile, the homeowner comes home, parks her car in the driveway, comes into the house through the front door, goes to the basement to put laundry in the washing machine, and sees a man's legs hanging in the window well. Well, she thought somebody was trying to break into her home. She came tearing out the back door with her husband's rifle in her hand. I almost lost Gordon that day, and that's when we put park your vehicle in front of the house where you're working back into our protocols. In number 11, we say that if the homeowner isn't home, you should wait at least 10 minutes, especially in Colorado. They could be stuck in traffic on I-25. Then you can use the information on the work order, phone number, cell phone number, work number, email address, try to contact that homeowner and see if they're on their way. Trade agreement entry in Figure 16 is relatively new. I'm really pleased with this little guy. It elevates warranty to a new, more important level in your trade contract. It does a couple of things that are very important. One is it specifies whether this particular trade is going to be providing 24-hour, 7-day-a-week emergency service. Now, that's only necessary from your mechanical trades, but you want to document that everybody's on the same page about that. It talks about warranty response time. In an emergency, we're going to target 4 hours as our response time, if at all possible, and regular work orders within 10 business days. Now, I'm going to tell my homeowners to expect 15 business days and create a margin for error. Then we're going to ask the trade contractor to actually meet with the warranty department. They're going to do a warranty orientation. We want the owner of the trade company and their warranty representative. Now, a lot of your trades will say, oh, we don't have a warranty representative. My response is, well, designate somebody. I want one person to work with all the time so I can get to know him or her and they can get to understand what we need and we can count on each other. And then finally, I'm going to ask them to review the information in the homeowner guide, which is information we give to the customer about our warranty standards and their maintenance responsibilities. I want to make sure the trade is aware of the commitment we're making. The agenda for this trade contractor meeting begins with looking at our warranty document, and then we talk about that clause that we just went through and the items relevant to this particular trade contractor. Make sure they understand how we're going to handle emergencies and what kinds of responses we expect. Then we go through those warranty repair protocols that we just looked at and make sure the trade knows how we expect them to behave. Seasonal items can be a problem depending on your geographical area. As I already mentioned, they're a big deal here in Colorado. Right now we are dealing with trying to catch up from some of the winter weather we've had, and that can be a real challenging thing, particularly in this trade environment right now with the labor shortage and parts missing and so forth. Also have a weather-related leak follow-up. Now the idea here is you think you fixed the roof leak. You're going to call the homeowner the next 3 times you get a heavy rain and make sure that roof isn't leaking. My experience with this has been that the customers are pretty impressed with this kind of follow-up. And after you've called them 3 times, you take their name off the list. And then the 4th time it rains, it leaks again. That's the way the world works. Our supply chain issues are very difficult. Homeowners don't understand. They don't like it. They get very angry. We need to talk to them about this in the sales office. And that means maybe having a bulletin board or a notebook with some articles from recent journal publications on this topic that they can look at and be made aware that this is not something we're making up. This is legitimate. Most of your buyers probably are struggling with some of this where they work, so they're going to be familiar with the problem. But there is a handout in Figure 20 that is a letter to these buyers just reminding them about this. Now, in this regard, we're going to take responsibility for this, but again, we can't completely protect them from it. I actually have a builder client in Colorado Springs who has hired a full-time administrator and a part-time administrator just to keep track of items that are missing in their houses. They told me that a national cabinet company at one point was missing 14,000 cabinet parts nationwide. They've worked very hard on getting that caught up. Now they're only missing 8,000. I mentioned before that we had an experience with defective material in multiple homes. When I say multiple homes, the number I'm talking about is 1,200. We put bad windows in houses for almost 4 years. This turned out to be a major catastrophe. We weren't alone in the Denver market. There were 5 or 6 other builders who used the same windows. We banded together and went to court against the window manufacturer. It took us 2 years to resolve that in the courtroom, and we won. We ended up getting new glass from the window manufacturer, and it took us 6 years to go house to house to house to house and replace the glass in our windows. The buyer originally started out just giving us the glass. And after a while, they said, this is too much. And that's when the lawsuit began to happen. We had to get the glass from the manufacturer for free. We couldn't just expect our supplier to pay for it. What we learned from this very difficult experience is outlined in Figure 21, which includes a procedure and a defective product analysis. It was a hard learning curve, but as you can see from this, quite a detailed list of guidelines came out of it. I hope none of you ever need it. Model home maintenance should be a team effort. We want to have the salesperson, the superintendent, and warranty go through the model home probably once a month. More often, if you have heavy traffic and your salesperson says, hey, we're looking pretty beat up out here, we better spruce things up. But the procedure for this is a team. We want the superintendent to keep the details of quality that are in the model home fresh in his mind. That's why we want him to participate in this. Warranty, of course, is going to issue work orders, follow up, and make sure everything gets addressed as needed. HOA turnover can be a gang of fun. If you don't have my new Chapter 8 for your homeowner guide, you're welcome to email me and I'll send it to you. It's a chapter that deals with the homeowner association. Who's supposed to do what? In Figure 23 of the handout is the entry in this chapter about the process of community turnover. Now, a good follow-up to this inspection and fixing things and notifying everybody that you've done that and it's now theirs to take care of is to continue inspecting those common areas for a while after turnover. A letter to the Homeowners Association and their management company that says, hey, by the way, we've noticed that the swimming pool isn't being maintained correctly. You need to review the process that we went through with you when we turned this over and make sure you stay on top of this. We don't want them coming back to us saying something's wrong with the pool and it's your fault, you need to fix it. If you notify them and you've got that document in your file, you can help to defend yourself. The ongoing inspections can happen with the superintendent or with the warranty department. You can do it in conjunction with a representative from the project management company if you want, but I think it's a worthwhile effort, and I would do them at least once every 6 months for a year or two after you turn things over. Orientation item completion is always challenging. Always a lot of push-pull in this industry about this topic. Years ago, when we were doing orientations from our warranty department and handing the list to construction, we were very frustrated with the follow-up. We finally said, okay, guys, we're going to take the orientation list and we're going to do it from warranty because you're not staying on top of it and getting it done quick enough. Well, we very quickly learned that the result of that technique was the list got longer and longer and longer, and we were ending up with Construction Department A and Construction Department B. It was so bad, the superintendents called warranty and said, we feel guilty for what we're doing. We're going to take this back. And we switched back to the original plan. Warranty conducted the orientation, handed the list to the superintendent, and he was responsible for getting the items done. The reports that I like to produce included the top 10 interior items and the top 5 exterior items. I've given you a sample of one of these in Figure 24. Another report to do that is not scientific again, but very helpful, is the probable cause report. This was my best guess on what caused these items to show up. Now, if you see the categories here, something is missing, something is incorrect, something doesn't work properly. Oh, it's below company standards. Wait a minute, damaged items are 43%? Let's focus in on that and start talking to our trades about this. All we did was circulate this report, and the trades started being more careful of each other's work. The original trade did work that was just fine and completely acceptable, and then somebody came in and scratched it or chipped it or bumped it or bruised it. Out-of-warranty items seem like they shouldn't be a problem for us. You just say, hey, you're out of warranty. I'm afraid it's not quite that simple. Out-of-warranty warranty requests can include code violations. It doesn't matter what the status of the warranty is. Codes are law, and the warranty status doesn't impact our obligation one bit. Latent defect items are items that the customer couldn't reasonably find in a normal inspection, and the problem that they cause show up later. In California, the builders are required to correct latent defects for 10 years. Notice at the bottom of this form, when you have it printed in front of you, it's Figure 25, out of warranty courtesy inspection/consultation. This is where we make it part of our policy that if a homeowner has a problem and his home is out of warranty, we are at least willing to go out and take a look at it and see if, in fact, we do have an obligation from one of these other categories. Years ago, I got a phone call from the owner of the company I worked for in Denver, and he said, I was driving through one of our older communities, and I want you to go to this house. He gave me the address, and replace the front porch. I said, okay. I went into the storage room in the basement of our office building and found the file for the house. It was 17 years old. I called the company owner back, and I said, Tim, do you realize how old this house is? It's 17 years old. He said, I don't care how old the house is. Porches don't fall off my houses. I went out to the house and knocked on the door, introduced myself to the fourth owner, and asked them if it would be okay if we gave them a new $6,000 front porch. Surprisingly enough, they said that would be great. Customers dissatisfied with warranty work that you've done, you are probably going to hear about it without any hesitation on their part. If the work is incomplete, if the trade or technician damaged something in the process of doing the work, if they left a mess, if they were rude, if the response time took too long, or if the quality of the work wasn't good, your customer's going to let you hear it. When you get this kind of complaint, the easiest thing to do is make an appointment, go out and look at the work. If the behavior of the trade contractor or technician was rude, you commit to having a conversation with that individual. Now, when you do this, don't make the mistake I made with our plumber years ago. I called him and took his head off for being rude to one of our homeowners. And then when I calmed down and listened to his side of the story, I realized he had a good motivation for being a little rude. The fact of the matter is, the homeowner was extremely difficult and insulting. I can understand how he lost his temper. Nonetheless, we had to arrange for a different plumber to carry out the rest of the warranty work in that home rather than continue this argument with the homeowner. We already did them one favor agreeing to do this. Now they want it done right on top of it. Of course they want it done right. If you agree to a repair that is marginal in terms of the warranty, you still have to deliver good quality, finish the work, don't leave a mess behind, and make sure the homeowner is satisfied with the result. Better off saying no if you're not going to do the report correctly. Denied items. This is always an issue for us. It's going to be some things that we just aren't going to do. In Figure 27, I've given you the body from 6 different letters to homeowners explaining something isn't going to be covered under your warranty. These include difference in standards, home maintenance item, the warranty expired, the homeowner damaged something, it's normal wear and tear, and an interesting one, the seller said you'd fix. So we have a second owner who's reporting to us that the seller told him that, oh, this item's covered under the builder warranty. All you have to do is contact them and they'll fix it. If you'll notice in the third paragraph of this letter, it says, the previous owner apparently misunderstood the terms of the warranty. We don't want to tell the second owner the first owner lied, although that's probably what happened. Big part of this, when we tell a homeowner no, is often the expectations that we set up front weren't accurate. Let me give you a tiny example of how easily we can get off track with this. I was in Atlanta doing an assessment for a home builder, visited their model homes, chatted with the salesperson. I let her think I was interested in buying a home. She was walking me from the first model into the second one. We stopped at the driveway, and I pointed at it and said, listen, I have to ask you a question. With our last house back in Ohio, we almost ended up suing our builder over concrete crack in the driveway. I see there's a crack in your driveway here at this model home. What would your company do about that? This crack was in the control joint. It was 1/8 of an inch wide with no displacement. She looked me straight in the eye and immediately said, we'd replace it. See how easy it is to get off track with expectations. Sometimes we have disputes with our customers. These are never fun. They're very stressful. We don't like going through this, and neither does the home buyer. The fact of some disputes will end up going to alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, which in our country is typically arbitration. In Canada, they do mediation as well. Now, an important point. If you have arbitration provided for in your sales agreement and or in your warranty, please have the customer initial those clauses. Let me explain why. This is not the first case like this I've heard of, but it is the worst one. Builder out in California. Salespeople did not go over the contract in detail. They just sort of did what the customer seemed to be interested in. In fact, one contract session only took 20 minutes. The buyer was on his lunch hour from work. Sign here, sign here, sign here. Here's your copies. Go home and read them. Well, of course, he didn't. Later on, a stucco issue arose in this community. There were 7 customers with complaints about their stucco. The builder looked at it. The stucco company looked at it. Everybody agreed the stucco needed to come off and be redone. Customers did not want the original stucco company to redo their homes. They wanted luxury stucco company to do the new work. Well, of course, the builder didn't want to pay for that. The original stucco company was going to do it at no cost and file an insurance claim with his policy. This deteriorated into a court case. In the courtroom, the homeowners testified under oath that the salesperson did not go through the contract, did not point out the alternative dispute resolution clause in the contract or in the warranty. Builder salespeople under oath had to testify that they sort of went over what the buyer seemed to be interested in, and they didn't really cover everything in detail. Well, the case was turned over to the jury, and the judgment against the builder was $7 million. I hope this gets your attention. The case is under appeal. It'll be tied up in court for years. Not healthy for anybody. Don't let this happen to you. I've been to small claims court 7 times. I won all but one case. I'll explain which one when we get to homebuyer expectations a little bit later. But small claims court can be a good way to resolve an issue. You don't necessarily have to have an attorney. It's a little bit faster. It's a little less stressful, but it's still not fun. Litigation, the minute you hear that a homeowner has hired an attorney and is threatening a lawsuit, you need to get your company attorney involved and stop talking to the customer. Easily say the wrong thing and weaken your attorney's position in defending you. So be very careful to stay out of that and pay attention to what your lawyer tells you to do or not do. The report in figure number 29 is actually a report analysis form, and it just asks some questions about your reports. How often do you do them? Who's responsible? When are they discussed? And how do we draw conclusions about what changes we might need as a result? As you analyze your reports from time to time, maybe once a year, you may decide some of them can be combined, one can be eliminated, there's a new one you need, and so on. Reports are going to help you identify improvement targets, so let's look at that process just for fun. Pretty straightforward. Your elimination targets begin with how often does this problem occur? It only happens once a year, not too big of a deal. If it happens 5 times a week, that's a big problem. It costs in terms of repair, both time and money, and what's the homeowner hassle factor? Is it an exterior repair that the homeowner doesn't even need to be home? Or is it an interior repair that requires a sequence of visits by 4 different trade contractors? The roofer comes out and fixes the roof leak. The drywall company comes out and repairs the damaged drywall. Then the painter comes out, and then we send the cleaning people. Or maybe we need to send the carpet cleaning people because the carpet got wet or the hardwood floor was damaged. That's a lot of hassle for the homeowner. Total all that up, and then you ask yourself, what's the root cause of this problem, and how can we eliminate that so this never happens again? And you compare and contrast the possible solutions, looking for the pros and cons of each. Do this process many times, and I will tell you there are no magic answers. Magic answers are quick, easy, convenient, inexpensive, and everybody likes them. Just don't exist in many cases. There'll be somebody who will say, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to change the design. I like this design. Customers think it's terrific. I know, but it's causing warranty an enormous amount of work and expense. Oh, well, if you take it out, I'll never sell another house. And so the salespeople might not like the change that warranty is suggesting. We get into that kind of push-pull all the time. Compare the cost with the cost of prevention. What do you have to do to make this problem go away and never come back? And once you see those numbers, you pick the slow, fat rabbits. Agreements in this regard are inevitable. When they occur, get up from behind your desk and meet your people out in the field. Start walking the houses and looking at what's gone wrong, what's going right, what do we need to change, and talk about it inside the houses with the product right in front of you. You can't just sit in a conference room waving your hands in the air because it just doesn't communicate clearly to the people involved. Here's an example of what we're talking about. A builder in Washington State was putting a shelf in his master bath shower stalls, and the bottom of the shelf was rough. So if you were cleaning that shelf and your hand happened to rub the bottom of that shelf, you could actually cut your fingers. A couple of homeowners complained about this, and warranty went out and took care of it. And then they said, why are we doing it this way? This shouldn't be this way. And the superintendent said, well, that's the way the model home is. Well, you know what? The model home needs to be fixed. Well, it's not in the scope of work. Well, go change the scope of work. You wrote it, you can change it. Well, the trade contractor will increase his price. I don't care. We're spending a fortune in warranty. We got a claim from the homeowner for cut fingers the other day. Get this resolved, and you have to go look at the model, and you have to make sure everybody's talking about the same thing, and then you want to build this back into your system by asking, who else needs to know? If we're going to change the model, the salespeople will need to understand why. If we're going to change the way we do production out in the field, you're probably going to have to talk to the superintendent, quality control, and the trade contractor. So we need a paper that's going to follow this information through that system. Notice of change is a good way to make sure all the appropriate people get informed about this adjustment in your plans. Especially important to add this new item to quality inspection checklists if you're doing those, and they are very important to reduce your warranty costs. You are going to put it in writing so we don't forget. When something is new, it needs to become a habit, and if we don't have it in writing, it's pretty tough for that to happen. Human being, 21 to 60 days to form a new habit. That's why having it in writing helps us to create that. Now we're going to turn our attention to our home buyers' expectations. Again, if you don't align your buyer's expectations, it's like you're in a dark room wearing a blindfold trying to hit an invisible moving target. Expectation setting process is a team effort, orchestrated effort that happens over time, and it requires everybody in the system knowing what other people are covering so that they can work together as a team and be effective, repeating the information that we know needs to be repeated several times in order for the homeowner to make a comfortable grasp of it. Don't put yourself in a dark room with a target that's moving, wearing a blindfold. It's not going to be good for your business. Begin with an inventory of your expectation setting tools. Figure 31 offers a sample. In the book about the 4 disciplines, one of the things we talk about is lead and lag measures. On this expectation tool inventory, we have some lead measure items. The model homes are an accurate representative of our quality, and we make included and selected features clear to our customer. We should do that 100% of the time. We should distribute the homeowner guide by the time of contract 100% of the time. Our planned meetings supported with written agendas 100% of the time. Now, we're going to have a struggle hitting that goal. Some of your customers live out of town. They may live across the country. They may be in a different country. They may be unavailable for meetings. Do what you can with online meetings, Zooms and videos and photographs and so forth to make up for that. And finally, letters that are well-timed and informational can be very helpful to reiterate, remind people of things you've already told them. If he is not responding to conversation, he might respond to something in writing. Take a quick tour through our potential tools for setting expectations, beginning with your website. You want to make sure it's an accurate reflection of your plans, your services, and your standards. In your model homes, make clear to your buyer which items are included in that home and which ones are selected features. This is a small claims case that I lost. I had a model home on the west side of town at our Governor's Ranch subdivision. It had stained woodwork. It had upgraded the doors to 6-panel fir doors. They were beautiful. I had a new salesperson there. Only been on the job for about 2 weeks, and she was unfamiliar with which things were selections and which things were included in the home. She sold the floor plan that demonstrated the stained doors. She didn't tell the buyer that the doors were an extra. They didn't know it was her fault. When they moved in, after the orientation, they called warranty and said, "We can't believe we missed this. We were just so excited at our orientation. We never noticed we have the wrong doors. We don't have the pretty ones like in your model." Well, the pretty ones like in the model were about an $1,100 upgrade at that point in time. Looked at their file, and I explained to them that they hadn't ordered the doors. The doors were an upgrade, and their response was, "Nobody ever told us that." Things deteriorated, and we ended up in small claims court. And after the judge heard both sides of the story, he ruled in favor of the homeowner, and I gave him the doors for free. That's how we learned to have a home buyer sign a sheet so they understood, and we had in writing in our file, these are the items that are displayed in our model that come with it. These are the items displayed in the model that you can choose if you want to, and they will cost you a little extra in the selection appointment. We want to have manufacturer literature out and available. This is a way we have of impressing our customer with the wonderful brands that we include in our homes. Conversation is an enormous part of our relationship with our buyers. And here again, ideally, the information we give them verbally when we talk to them is accurate. We don't overpromise or extend our warranty into realms where we just aren't going to do repairs. Sometimes we use homes under construction, and I think that's a valuable tool for showing a customer a floor plan for which you don't have a model home. Homeowner guide is a vital tool. Any of you do not have a homeowner guide, let me know. I will send you my template. It's about 170 pages. It includes that new Chapter 8 on the homeowner association. This is the one thing in our tools that covers product, process, and service all in one place in user-friendly English. It's critically important that we use these effectively, and that means we deliver them in a hard copy. If you're giving your customers your homeowner guide on a jump drive or telling them to click on a button on your website, it's not going to work. I made a terrible mistake a while back. I got a phone call from customer relations director in Hawaii, works for a big national company. And she said, "Carol, we're in trouble. Our customer satisfaction is down about 14% in some communities, 16% in another one, and we're not selling as many referral sales as we had been, and we don't know what we're doing wrong." And I said, "Denise, did you change to an electronic homeowner guide?" And she said, "Yes." "Is that the problem?" I said, "I suspect that it did. Electric doesn't work. You've got to have the hard copy so your staff can open it in front of the customer at meetings and point to things in it." Oh, and my mistake in this was I should have said, "Denise, I have no idea what's going on. I better come to Hawaii for a week and figure it out." Planned meetings should include a written agenda so that we can be consistent and get a signature that we covered certain topics. Written agendas work best if they are all formatted in a similar way. We want them to look like uniform soldiers. They look stronger. They look more professional. They look as if we have our knowledge in a tangible representation on a sheet of paper, and we can have the customer go through every topic. If there's a subject that doesn't apply, we simply mark it NA for not applicable. We have the documents of the sale itself. We saw with that situation in California, it is important that we go over these. I observed a sales agreement signing up in Boulder, Colorado that was done very, very well. The salesperson had one or two sentences about each clause in the contract. And if the buyer had any questions, they stopped, they read more detail, and they discussed it for a few minutes until everybody was on the same page. She was efficient, she was thorough, but she covered everything. Purchase agreement agenda in Figure 33 of your handout begins with a model home tour conducted just before you sit down to sign a contract. Now, the customer's been through the model probably multiple times, but you want to get the quality of the model fresh in their mind just at the time they're going to sit down and sign a contract. Next, you deliver their homeowner guide, and you tell them, we're working today in Chapter 1, Purchasing Your Home. You're about to sign a contract documenting your commitment to buy a home and our commitment to build you one. And then you list the edition, whether it's the 2022 or 2023 edition of your homeowner guide. Moving forward through this agenda, later you're going to deliver a copy of the limited warranty. By the way, just halfway up this same column, you'll see the term dispute resolution with a line where the customer can initial that you talked about arbitration when you went over your contract. You'll do the same thing again at the closing table with your warranty. Speaking of the warranty, the limited warranty in the handout in Figure 34 is the one that has appeared in the books that I've written on this topic for NAHB. It's been reviewed by their lawyers several times. It's been to court several times, and it has done a good job of protecting a lot of builders. It starts out with 1-year material and workmanship coverage. That's where most of our warranty activity takes place. I will share with you that home builders in New Zealand are required by government to have a 3-year material and workmanship warranty. Some of the builders in New Zealand don't have warranty departments. They have home maintenance departments. Overview of the homeowner guide concludes the purchase agreement meeting. So we started with a tour of the model, then we delivered the homeowner guide, mentioned which edition we gave the customer, and at the end of the meeting, we said, okay, we've now completed Chapter 1. Let's take a quick look at the other chapters in the book, and you do a 2-minute review of what's coming up. It helps in your homeowner guide to have a bulleted summary of each chapter as the first page of the chapter. Those are used by the salespeople to do a quick, easy, here's what's coming next, here's what's on our horizon. It's a very good way to give your customer a good overview and a sense of direction. Homeowner guide template that I compiled includes entries in alphabetical order about each component of homes. And under the entry cabinets, as an example, the first, homeowner use and maintenance guidelines. The homeowner's responsibilities come first. Their efforts at maintenance don't keep things working well. The builder's warranty may kick in, so builder limited warranty guidelines come next. In our selection meeting, we can have some working copies of our homeowner guide out on the tables or the desk and tell the customer, if you're going to pick this for your home, it's a good idea. If you review the information in our homeowner guide about what attention it's going to need, we want you to make informed decisions. Nice way of saying we don't want you to come crying back to us later when you find out how much work it is to keep hardwood floor looking good. Speaking of hardwood floor, Figure 35 has a highlighting sheet. This is an exact copy of the entry in the homeowner guide about hardwood floors. You don't want to have 2 different pieces of paper, 2 different documents on the subject, because if there's any contradiction or omission, it opens the door to arguments. Make an exact copy, add the homeowner's signature to the bottom of it. You don't want to have 87 of these. These feel like warning labels. I think it's okay to have 2 or 3. And if it were me, I'd have one on hardwood floor, I'd have one on concrete flatwork, and one on landscaping. Your concerns might be different than that. Think about what are the big controversial items that come across the desk in the warranty office. At your pre-construction conferences, especially if the homeowner's purchasing a home from the ground up, you can say to them, you know, it's too soon for you to start packing. We haven't even got the permit for your home yet. But this would be a good time for you to start reading through the chapter in your homeowner guide about caring for your home and our warranty commitment to you. And then if you have any questions, bring them up at your frame stage tour. Chapter on orientation in my homeowner guide template has these words. The quality of your home should equal that shown in our models and described in your purchase documents. We're not making a commitment to a customer to build to his particular personal standards. The paragraph goes on to say, at some point, quality ceases to be scientific and becomes a matter of personal taste. In a few areas, your personal standards may be even higher than ours. Complimenting both parties with this statement, but you're also making it clear to your buyer that you're selling him what you demonstrated in the model or the other homes that you built that you've shown him. And that's what he should be expecting. If he wants to make it better, he's welcome to do that after he moves in. Telling the customer to review the Caring for Your Home section in the Homeowner Guide, we're alerting them to information about both warranty and maintenance. Another idea came across my desk just yesterday. Back early in I think it was the spring of 2020, while the pandemic was getting warmed up, a gentleman named Richard Carrillo, who worked for Stylecraft Homes in Texas at that time, participated in the executive summit in Florida, and he spoke on the topic of quality management. Richard has now moved to Vermont and is working for a small volume builder there. He and his wife wanted to be near their daughter and grandkids. So I had a phone call conversation with him yesterday, and he asked me a very interesting question. He said, we are considering having a 20 to 30-minute meeting with the customer about our warranty, about home maintenance and warranty standards and the information in our homeowner guide before they sign the contract. See how having the warranty manager sit down with the customer for a bit elevates the topic to a new higher level of importance. It ensures that someone who's deeply familiar with the warranty, the processes, and the repairs that the company will do is going to talk to the customer about that. And it really clarifies the whole thing. I thought it was a great idea, so I'm going to help them develop an agenda for that meeting. At your frame stage tour, it's a good opportunity to point to things in the house and talk about the separation of responsibilities. The builder's going to do some things during construction, warranty's going to do some things, and the homeowner's going to do some things. For example, our plumber has installed these little metal plates over places where pipes go through the framing so that you can't nail a picture there. Now, after you get moved in, you'll want to make sure you use your home's ventilation systems, and during the first few months in particular, do an occasional inspection and make sure nothing is leaking. If anything is, report it to warranty. You see how you begin to separate the responsibilities here. So that's a good technique, and it's very impressive at the frame stage tour because you got the house in front of you to look at the quality that's going inside the walls. Of course, homeowner orientation is a fabulous opportunity to educate our customer. Home should be complete and clean and move-in ready. If it's cluttered, it still needs paint touch-up. If there's cleaning that still needs to be done, your customer is not going to listen to information. They're going to be working on making a list of things you need to address. Many builders in today's world have put their confirmation tour on temporary hold. If you're not familiar with that, the confirmation tour happens the day before or the morning of closing to take the customer back through his home and show them the progress that's been made on the orientation list. Ideally, you've made an impressive amount of progress, but because in today's world, right at the moment, it's a struggle to get those last details polished up and finished, many builders are thinking that it's kind of insulting to make the customer come back through the home and look at the same things when we only got 2 items done and there's still 11 more to finish. Totally up to you to make that judgment call. If you're able to deliver a home complete and clean, the confirmation tour offers the benefit of getting the customer to sign a second meeting agenda confirming the cosmetic condition of the home is acceptable to him and there are no problems. If your buyers are living out of town, they were brought to you by a realtor who's been showing them houses all over the place and they just walked in the door and signed a contract, or if they purchased an inventory home, you're not going to have time to get to know them as well. However, the fact that you didn't get to know them as well before you built the home can be dealt with quite effectively. And the reason we want to do that is this information right here. The person who buys an inventory home is actively referring only 48% of the time. Get to know you. They didn't come to trust and like you. The person who builds a home with you from the ground up spends more time with you, has meetings, gets educated, sees how much you know and how professional you are. They're way more likely to refer other people to you. So what can we do? We can pay attention to them after they move in and continue to build that relationship even though we've already been paid. Letters, some phone calls, and some in-person visits to do this. Other ideas in transition service suggestions in Figure 36 of your handout material. I will leave it to you to read through those. One of the best is the proactive visit we talked about earlier, where you offer to set the first warranty appointment before closing. A lot of builders think a proactive visit is where you send the customer an email on the 30th day and say it's time for us to come out and do your visit. That's not proactive. That's just a 30-day visit. Get proactive in a serious way, roll up your sleeves, and offer to set the appointment. A third of your customers won't be able to. It doesn't matter. They'll remember that you offered. Finally, stay the course. Have to be persistent. Some of this stuff gets boring. Some of it is tedious. If your sales increase, you're going to be increasingly busy, and one of the things that may fall by the wayside is your reporting mechanisms. Don't let that happen. Build the reporting responsibility, both in producing them and in reviewing them, into your job descriptions. Figures 37 and 38 illustrate that. I put those bulleted points in bold type so you can find them readily. Circulate the reports with one-page summaries to other departments. People don't have time to read 17 pages of warranty data. We want to give them a quick down and dirty look. If there's something they have a question about, we can sit down with them and go through more detail. Include reviewing reports in your standard company meeting agendas. And that can begin like the warranty staff meeting agenda in Figure 39 with talking about homeowner feedback. That's a lag measure of our performance, and we need to pay attention to it. If we're not getting good scores, we need to change what we're doing up front. What is your rate of referral sales? Another lag measure, but really important to your business growth. Feedback from trade contractors and a budget review are also measures you want to be paying attention to and talking about. Keep them foremost in everyone's mind in your warranty department. When you make a change to make an improvement in something, it's critical that you go back a month or two later and make sure that it produced the results that you wanted. Don't just assume that it's going to solve the problem. You've got to go back and check on it. Management being interested in what you're doing to improve is another important element of encouraging people to look at the reports, pay attention to them, and take appropriate action. When you have a success, take time to celebrate it. We have enough difficult things in our world right now that it's good to every once in a while let your hair down a bit, order some pizzas, or go to the ice cream store, or go see a play and have dinner out or something, and celebrate that the hard work you put in, all of the effort that you made has paid off. So in measuring your way to success, we talked about the benefits of reports, the 4 core metric reports. We looked at 12.5 supplemental reports, how to find improvement targets, and how to manage buyer expectations, and a commitment to self-discipline to be persistent in this effort. I want to acknowledge this quote from Einstein: "Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts." He's totally right. We have a human element in our business that's very difficult to measure, and we definitely want to keep that foremost in our thinking. I'm ready to take questions now if any of you have any. And by the way, when we conclude this program, I will be sending a PDF of the slides we just went through over to Emma, and she can send that out to anybody who requests it. You're also welcome to ask me for it. It will be in a PDF format, and it will still be a very large file. Emma Jane, I'm ready to take questions if there are any.
So we have one pressing question, and this goes back to when you were talking about litigation. Tony was wondering if you would contact your attorney based on a threat or being served.
I would contact my attorney based on the threat. Let me tell you why. Years ago, we had a really annoying, pushy, aggressive homeowner who was not happy with his entry tile. It did not qualify under any warranty standard for any attention. He just didn't like it. We went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and I finally said to him, I will settle this with you by giving you $400. You can put that toward the cost of replacing the tile with a tile that you like. Will that settle this? And he said yes. I wrote a letter that said, you are agreeing that $400 settles this matter, and you're never going to mention it to me again because I'm sick and tired of talking to you about it. I sent my letter to our attorney, and I said, Mac, would you review this and let me know if I need to add anything? And he came back with the phrase, you need to include this. Without prejudice, we are giving you $400. Like, what does that mean? Well, if this ends up in front of a judge, what it means is this customer was annoying and pestering us, and we bought him off just to get him to shut up and go away. That's how the judge is going to interpret that, rather than thinking that we gave this customer a pittance when what we should really have done is replace his tile. We were just trying to buy him off with a small payment. So that's why you talk to the attorney sooner rather than later. Much rather spend a couple $100 talking to an attorney than get myself into trouble and really get sued later. Anything else?
Absolutely. Well, you've made several comments, references to a homeowner's guide, and I've gotten several questions about how to obtain a homeowner's guide. What does that look like? So if you could spend just a couple minutes discussing that.
Okay, let me show you. These production builders, introduction. Okay. Homeowner Guide template is a document that has 8 chapters. This is the introduction. This is the table of contents.
Are you? Can you're not sharing that part?
Oh, okay.
So you'll have to do click on the bottom where it says screen share, and then you're going to stop share or share new.
It says I'm sharing my screen. New share. How about that?
You have to share a different window.
Gotcha. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
we can hear you.
Purchasing your home, arranging your loan, new home selections, construction of your home, homeowner orientation, closing, caring for your home, and the homeowners association. And in total, all of this taken as a package gives your customers a clear view of the process. It is your brain in a tangible form, and that's why you need to put it in writing so you can open this book and point to various pages as you go through the process. As an example here, we have what happens next in the introduction. It's a short sentence or two about each of the steps, each of the chapters in the book, and just gives the customer a quick down and dirty overview of what's available in this information. Now I'm going to get into a chapter here. Look at the HOA chapter. This goes through who does what. This is where we settle a lot of the arguments. The company that caused me to develop this chapter was in Boulder, and they had some homeowners who were living in a controlled community for the first time, and they weren't familiar with how all of this works and so on and so forth, and the builder was getting all kinds of feedback about, we have 3 flakes of snow on our front porch, why isn't somebody here shoveling? Well, they hadn't set expectations about who does what and when, and so what we did was put who does what, starting with the homeowner's responsibilities, going through the board of directors, the management company, and so on, and then we got into take advantage of your association membership, the association meetings, the management company, the various committees, and you see how this really puts it in perspective for the homeowner to understand what's going to be done and by whom and when. Under common use, common area use and care, we have maintenance of the clubhouse, curbs and sidewalks, exterior lights. This just gives them information that, I'm sorry, but it would take weeks and weeks of reading if you're going through the homeowner association documents and all of that material, which is, it's very boring. If you have insomnia, it's a great way to put yourself to sleep. And so this is the English version. Snow removal between 2 and 12 inches. That's when we're going to start removing snow. Over 12 inches, it's going to take longer than we normally would expect because our snow removal people take longer everywhere they go, and it'll take them longer to get to us. We're not first on their list necessarily. So these are the kinds of things that we can do with the homeowner guide. One of my most recent additions is in the chapter on caring for your home, and I'll show you this real quickly. This is in here now because of the lawsuit in California with the stucco issue. These are the introductory pages of this chapter before we get into the individual pages on each component. Okay, construction defect litigation. This says that if you are joining a lawsuit with a bunch of other homeowners, and by the way, you decide to sell your home, you're going to have to disclose your home has been involved in a lawsuit. might have an impact on the value you can sell the home for. At the same time, if you're involved in a lawsuit, it's going to take your time, it's going to be a distraction, et cetera, et cetera. If there's a repair that's needed in your home and it's involved in a lawsuit, the repair is probably not going to get done until the suit gets settled. I mean, it just goes on and on. So this is a good way to help people at least pause, consider telling the builder about the problem and giving the builder a chance to respond before they join a class action lawsuit or some other mechanism. My meeting tables describe the visit, and for each one we have who's going to set the appointment, when are appointments available, where does the appointment happen, who's going to attend, how long does it typically take, away. And the fact of the matter is this tells the homeowner in a quick, easy to read. They get used to this format and they go straight to it to find out what they can do to prepare for this and get the greatest benefit out of it. So all of these tools are repeated in each chapter for each meeting that we have. While we're on the topic, back into agendas for a minute. Home site review, this is good for custom builders. We have home site reservation. Now this is a short agenda. The important point on this is your reservation on this home site is going to expire on a certain date at 5 p.m. You want to make sure the customer knows that's the deadline. This is the new agenda we're developing for the warranty introduction meeting that Mr. Carrillo is talking about. We go through purchase agreement, selection appointments, and I know everybody has a different number of selection appointments. You might have 1, you might have 5. Pre-construction conference. If any of you would like a copy of this set of meeting agendas, you are welcome to them. This, of course, is the orientation, which is a full 2 pages. And I love this separation. Seasonal items or parts that are being ordered are listed separately on the second page where the action items show up. So the customer is reminded these items are going to take longer to address because they're seasonal or we have to wait for a part to come in. And we have the confirmation tour, again, a short meeting, and the primary warranty visit. Also have an anniversary warranty visit list if you want, or you can use the same agenda both times. Depends on the nature of your product and how you want to approach this topic. So the homeowner guide, all 8 chapters plus the introduction, comes with a short article. It's a page and a half of suggestions on how to customize it. The process is a lot of work. You have to read the whole thing, and you'll make changes in it. Where I say you fix a concrete crack at 1/4 of an inch, you might want to say 1/8 of an inch. Totally up to you. You're completely in control. But a lot of the writing is going to be in place. You won't need to change everything in it. First thing you're going to do is look for the places where the homeowner guide says builder in brackets, like in this header right here, and you're going to substitute for builder in brackets. You're going to put your company name in, and that takes just a few seconds to do, and then it suddenly looks like your document. It's a wonderful tool. It makes a huge difference in your customer expectations when it is used properly, incorporated into every customer meeting for some reason. It can be as simple as at the orientation, you can open the book to the pages in the closing chapter that talk about the tips and hints for getting ready and preparing to move. That can help customers have an easier, more efficient time in managing their move. Anything else, Emma Jane?
How would they get access to your homeowner guide book?
All they need to do is call me or email me. I will send it to them at no cost.
All right. So for those of you that were asking, Carol's email will be available through an email that you get tomorrow. I will include it in an email that I send out to anybody who emails me today. I'll make sure to get you her email this afternoon. And if I think, oh wait, looks like we might have one more question.
Okay.
Oh, and Cindy, I will send you, I'll send you the workbook. If any of you had difficulties downloading the workbook, send me a quick email, and I can just reply with the workbook attached for you. And I think that covers everything.
Awesome.
Yeah, great job today, Carol. I loved it. It's always so great to hear from you. You always bring so much great information. We enjoy every minute that we are blessed to have you with us presenting this great information. So thank you so much for partnering with us again today, and we look forward to having you again soon.
Thank you very much, and best wishes to all of you. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.